Welcome back, everybody. Today we're gonna go deep on something that can be a real pain point for anyone in IT.
Yeah,
A CMDB.
the CMDB.
That's
yeah,
right, a configuration manager database.
That's it.
And we'll be taking a look at this through the lens of a ServiceNow data sheet.
Okay,
You know how it is, your IT environment is always changing and growing.
right.
But trying to manage all of that without a CMDB is like trying to navigate a city without a map.
I see where you're going with this.
What we'll be looking at today is how a CMDB can not only give you that map, but also help you understand how all the pieces work together.
Right, like how they connect.
Yeah, almost like figuring out all the bus routes in that city.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
And get this, it can even help predict potential problems
Wow.
before they happen.
So you can avoid those problems altogether.
That's right. So why don't we jump right in?
Okay, sounds good.
Why is a CMDB so important in today's complex IT landscape? I mean, it's really complicated out there.
Well, think about your own life for a second. How many devices do you use in a day? How many apps?
Right.
Tons. Now imagine multiplying that by thousands for a business.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot.
That's the reality of IT today.
Yeah, you've got
Physical servers, virtual machines.
cloud services.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget containers, mobile devices. It goes on and on.
Yeah, and there's new technology popping up all the time.
All the time. And without a clear picture of what you have and how it all fits together, things are bound to break down.
That's a good point.
We're talking about outages, security risks, wasted resources.
Yeah, no one wants that.
Nobody wants it.
Okay, so I'm starting to see the problem here. How does a CMDB actually help us tame all of this chaos?
So a CMDB, it acts as the central place for information about every part of your IT infrastructure.
Okay,
It's like having a blueprint of your entire IT city.
I like that.
That's the CMDB for you.
So the ServiceNow datasheet mentions that their CMDB is cloud-based. What's the advantage of that?
Being cloud-based means it's accessible from anywhere, and it can scale with you as your IT environment grows.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you don't have to manage physical servers or install any complicated software.
So it's just always there, ready to go.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, whenever you need it.
But it's not just about having a giant list of IT stuff, right?
No, it's not.
The datasheet also mentions something called service mapping.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, service mapping takes the CMDB beyond just an inventory. It shows you how all those pieces connect and work together to actually deliver specific services.
So instead of just seeing all the roads and intersections, you can actually see how those roads are being used to create specific bus routes.
You got it.
I love that analogy.
Each bus route represents a different service that your IT infrastructure provides.
Okay.
And just like a bus route, if one part of the route is disrupted, it affects the entire service.
Right.
The CMDB with service mapping lets you see those dependencies and understand the impact of any changes or disruptions.
Yeah, that's super valuable.
Very valuable.
That makes a ton of sense. Now seeing all these connections is super helpful. But how does the CMDB know about all this stuff in the first place?
Right.
IT environments are really complex.
Yeah.
Does someone have to manually input all of this information?
That's a great question, and that's where the power of discovery and integration comes in.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So the ServiceNow CMDB, it can automatically pull data from all sorts of sources. We're talking cloud environments, on-premise systems,
Wow.
even third-party applications.
So it's like it's constantly scanning the IT landscape and just updating its map with the latest information.
You got it.
Oh, wait, that's really cool. And it doesn't just dump all this data in a big pile, right?
Right.
It actually organizes it in a way that makes sense.
It uses this process called data normalization to make sure all the information is consistent and formatted in a way that the CMDB can understand.
Wow.
Imagine if all your data was speaking different languages. Data normalization is like having a universal translator making sure the CMDB can understand everything.
So it's like having a built-in interpreter for your IT data.
Exactly.
That's awesome. But pulling data from all these different sources has to come with some challenges.
Right.
What about like inconsistencies and errors?
You're right. That's a valid concern. But the ServiceNow CMDB tackles this head-on with some pretty rigorous integration standards.
Okay, so it's being careful about the data that it's bringing in.
It makes sure that the data coming in from all these different places is reliable and accurate so you can trust the insights you're getting.
Okay, that's reassuring. So we've talked about how the CMDB pulls data from all these different sources, but what happens to that data once it's in the CMDB?
Right.
How do we make sense of it all?
Well, that's where the real magic happens. So the ServiceNow CMDB goes beyond just storing data. It actually helps you visualize it in a way that's easy to understand.
So we're not talking about a giant spreadsheet here with endless rows and columns.
No, not at all. Imagine being able to see your whole IT infrastructure right there in front of you, like a dynamic map.
Oh, wow.
You can zoom in to see specific details about different components, or zoom out and get a high-level view of how everything's connected, and it's not static either.
Okay.
You can see how things have changed over time, track the history of updates, and even overlay active issues or problems right on that map.
So it's kind of like an interactive X-ray of your entire IT environment.
That's a good way to put it.
I can definitely see how that would be helpful for troubleshooting
Yeah.
or even understanding like the impact of changes.
Right.
But let's say you're looking at this map and you see a potential issue,
Right.
like maybe a server's running low on disk space or a service is having some delays. What happens next?
Well, that's where the reporting capabilities of the CMDB really come in.
Okay.
You can actually generate reports that highlight specific concerns, like you said, servers with low disk space or services that are exceeding their performance thresholds.
So it's not just about seeing the problem, it's about being able to actually do something about it.
Exactly. You need to be able to take action.
Right? I'm starting to see how powerful this could be. But you know how I am.
Oh.
I always have to ask about the potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
So what about the accuracy of the data?
Yeah.
How do we know the information in the CMDB is actually correct and up to date?
That is a critical point, and ServiceNow actually addresses this with what they call the CMDB Health Dashboard.
Okay, a health dashboard for my CMDB. Tell me more.
Think of it like a fitness tracker, but for your data.
I love that.
It gives you a complete overview of the health of your CMDB, including key performance indicators like how complete the data is, how correct it is, and even compliance.
Okay.
It'll even benchmark your CMDB against industry standards so you can see how you stack up against everybody else.
So if my CMDB is looking a little sluggish,
Yeah,
the health dashboard will let me know.
you got it.
And it's not just about identifying problems, it's also about providing solutions.
That's right.
So for example,
Let's say it flags an issue with duplicate data entries. Well, the CMDB can actually trigger automated workflows to clean up those duplicates and make sure your data is squeaky clean.
that's really impressive. It's like having a self-cleaning oven, but for my IT data.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. But all of this automation and visualization, it sounds pretty technical. Is this really something that anyone can use, or do I need to go back to school and get a PhD in computer science?
One of the great things about the ServiceNow CMDB is that they really focused on the user experience when they designed it. It has a pretty intuitive interface that makes it easy to navigate and understand, even if you're not super technical.
So I don't need to be a coding whiz to get some value out of it.
Not at all.
That's fantastic. It sounds like the ServiceNow CMDB is a pretty comprehensive solution.
It really is.
Are there any limitations that we should be aware of? Anything it can't do?
Well, like any tool you have to use it, right? The CMDB is most powerful when it's part of a bigger IT service management strategy. It's not a magic wand that's going to fix all your IT problems overnight.
Right, it takes a little more than that.
It takes some planning and implementation and ongoing maintenance to really get the full value out of it.
So it's not something you can just set and forget about.
Exactly. You have to be involved in managing the data, making sure it's accurate, and integrating it with your existing IT processes.
Uh-huh. But with the right approach, the CMDB can really be transformative for any organization.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so we're kind of starting to see the bigger picture here.
Right.
This isn't just about keeping track of IT assets, right? It's about understanding how those assets connect to actually deliver those services that make your business run.
You're absolutely right. And that understanding is key for making good decisions about everything from handling incidents to managing changes to planning for the future.
So it helps you move away from that reactive firefighting mode into more proactive service delivery.
Exactly. When you understand your IT environment, you can anticipate problems, optimize resources, and make sure your IT services are actually aligned with your business goals.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the features and benefits of the CMDB, but I want to bring it back to our listener for a minute. Why should they care about all of this?
Right.
What's the real-world impact of having a well-maintained CMDB?
Great question. The impact is something that can be felt across the entire organization for IT teams. It means faster problem solving, less downtime, more efficient change management, and just better use of resources.
So it's not just about making IT more efficient. It's about improving the entire business as a whole.
You got it. When IT is running smoothly, everyone benefits.
Right.
It can actually lead to increased productivity, happier customers, and even lower costs.
And we can't forget about security. The CMDB can play a huge role in identifying and mitigating security risks.
Absolutely. When you have a clear picture of your assets and how they're all connected, you can better assess your vulnerabilities, enforce your security policies, and respond to incidents more effectively.
It sounds like a win-win for everyone, but let's be real for a second. Implementing and maintaining a CMDB can be a big job.
Yeah.
Any advice for organizations that are just starting out?
My advice would be to start small and really focus on the value. Don't try to do everything all at once.
Okay.
Find a specific problem or area where the CMDB can make an immediate difference. For example, you could start by mapping out a critical business service, or maybe focus on improving how quickly you can resolve issues.
So pick something manageable and then build from there.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the importance of data quality. You know what they say, garbage in, garbage out?
Yeah.
So make sure you've got a solid process for collecting, validating, and maintaining your data.
And it's not a one-time project either. It's an ongoing thing.
That's right. It's about constantly iterating, refining, and adapting to the changing needs of your organization.
This has been a fantastic deep dive into the world of the CMDB.
It really has.
I feel like I've learned a lot,
Me too.
and I hope our listeners have as well.
I hope so too.
It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you and our listeners.
Likewise.
The CMDB might seem complicated at first, but it's a tool with so much potential to transform IT and ultimately drive business success.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so we're back, and we've talked a lot about what a CMDB is and all the cool things it can do.
Yeah, we have.
But I really want to make sure we connect this back to our listeners and their everyday lives.
Makes sense.
So let's say you're facing a major IT outage, systems are down. Users are freaking out and the pressure is on.
Yeah.
How can a CMDB help you in a moment like that? You know, when everything's on fire.
Right. That's a great example of where the CMDB can really be a lifesaver.
Oh, yeah.
Remember all that visualization stuff we talked about? Imagine being able to see exactly which services are impacted by that outage, how they're connected, and which components might be causing the problem.
Oh, wow.
It's like having a detective on the case instantly pointing you in the right direction.
So instead of running around like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to figure out what's connected to what the CMDB gives you that clear picture.
Exactly. And that can save you so much time when you're trying to fix things.
Yeah, time is definitely of the essence when you're dealing with an outage.
Absolutely.
What about the day-to-day challenges of IT management?
Right.
Can a CMDB help us with that too? I mean, not just the big fires?
Oh, for sure. Think about something like change management.
Okay.
Let's say you need to upgrade a server before you even touch anything. You can use the CMDB to see what services rely on that server. You can understand the potential impact of taking it offline so you can plan your maintenance windows better and minimize any disruption to the business.
Yeah, it's kind of like a crystal ball.
Kind of, yeah. It helps you look ahead, see potential problems.
And plan accordingly.
Exactly. Make better decisions about how you manage your IT.
I'm starting to see the light here, but I know some folks out there might be thinking, okay, this sounds great, but isn't it a ton of work to set this whole thing up?
Yeah, I can see that.
What would you say to them?
Implementing a CMDB does take some effort. That's true, but the rewards are huge and you don't have to do everything at once.
Okay.
You can start small, focus on something specific that will make a difference, like mapping out a critical business service. Once you see the value, you can gradually expand your CMDB to cover more and more of your IT environment.
So start small, focus on value, and build from there.
Exactly. And don't forget about automation.
Oh.
The ServiceNow CMDB can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, automatically discovering and mapping those components.
That makes me feel better.
It's not as daunting as it might seem at first.
Okay, so I think we've covered just about everything there is to know about the CMDB. Any final words of wisdom before we wrap up?
I would just say to everyone out there listening, embrace the CMDB. It's not just an inventory tool. It's something that can really transform your IT operations and help your business succeed.
I love that. The CMDB, your map to taming IT chaos.
And unlocking a world of possibilities.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.